So one of my viewers actually came to me and asked me what the difference is between the Gaziano and Girling and the Alfred Sargent. They're both Northampton shoes, and Alfred Sargent's been around a long time. Gaziano and Girling has only been around for 14 years. So it's a natural question, certainly something that I'm sure a lot of people are interested in. As you look at the two shoes, and my only Alfred Sargent is suede, and my only Gaziano and Girling is smooth leather. So you'll have to forgive me for that. I also have a rounded last here versus a square-toed last or chisel last on the Gaziano. So, but as we look at construction method, as we look at the details that go into the shoe, there should be a lot of similarities. And so I wanted to start there and really talk about what we're looking at in order to be able to measure them. So as we start, if we look at stitch density on the sole, we're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stitches per centimeter on the Alfred Sargent, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on the Gaziano as well. If we look at the stitches on the upper, it's a little different per centimeter. We're at 1, 2, 3, 4 versus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So the stitch density on the Gaziano is almost twice what it is here. Now that could be a stylistic choice, or it could be a quality choice. I know Gaziano and Girling takes pride in making sure that they have the highest density of any ready-to-wear maker, but that is something that is a choice there. When you look at your styling of the lasts, now each last is different, but you can see this last here has a lot of room. This is a 109 from Alfred Sargent. This has a lot of room up at the top of the toe comparatively, and for me that means that this is not in suede but in leather would be much more subject to creasing, where here this is much more form-fitted to my foot, and so the creasing is much more under control. But that's going to depend on your foot. Some people have higher profile feet, so that's not as much of a concern for them. Now, if you look at the overall profile of the shoe, the Gaziano and Girling is a little bit lower. That will make a difference if you have low ankles. It also has a sleeker overall look. But again, that's the last. A semi-brogue and an Adelaide are naturally going to look a little different anyway. So that's something that is also subject to interpretation. Now, where you get into more defined areas, we can look at the sole. So as we look here, and we look at the sole, this is not the sole is straight up and down. So it's not tapered in at all. And if you look at the width of the sole, this sole is 7 centimeters, and it stays pretty much 7 centimeters throughout the length of the whole shoe. So it does appear to be a little bit tapered here, but it's not very significant. If we look at the Gaziano, the G&G is 7 centimeters here, and down to 6 3/4 down at the end, maybe 6 1/2. So it definitely tapers in quite a bit more. Then if you look at the waist itself, the waist here is 6 1/2 centimeters, and this has a fiddleback waist, which I like. Offers a fair bit of support. Now this is a beveled waist, and is about 6 centimeters though, so it is quite narrow, so also providing a great amount of support. Now if you look at the soles compared to each other, you can see that obviously I've had a little bit more wear on the Alfred Sargent so far, but I would say that the soles are very, very similar. That I know from reading, the Gaziano soles are made from an oak bark tannery, which focuses on soles. They're the only ready-to-wear maker in England that uses that one. Most of the bespoke houses use it though, and so this is going to be more of a JR sole type wear, and this sole I would expect to wear a little bit faster. Now, you can tell they're both relatively new shoes, so I can't say that with certainty, but that's what I've read, so I want to share that, but I also want you to take it with a grain of salt because I really don't know. Other stylistic brand comparisons, they both have the tapered lacing, they both have really solid construction. The linings This is an unlined suede, so that's it's perhaps difficult to compare. No, that's not unlined. It just has a thing for the name on the inside that caught me off guard there. But the lining on this is very soft. The lining on this is very soft. The suede on the Alfred Sargent is extremely soft, and the leather in the Gaziano Girling is wonderful. They really do fulfill the mark of not needing to break in the shoes, very much like Alan Edmonds was when I first started wearing them 25 years ago. So really, really good shoes. I can't say enough about them. Now, I will say from a finishing perspective, Gaziano and Girling has a fair amount of fudging. The Alfred Sargent has none, but then again, this is suede. That may be done intentionally. So that's different. If you look at the way the sole is done, this has the same carving in the sole that Gaziano does, but the Gaziano is deeper as they carve into as they iron the sole, is what they call it. It's a move on a Goodyear welting machine. And so, but they both have it. It's both executed very well. So again, I can't really take anything away from them on that. Now, because this is a fiddleback waist versus a beveled waist, the waist measurements that I gave are subject to a little bit of interpretation and margin of error, simply because I have a flat ruler and not something that I can look at with 100% certainty. So now the one thing that you can look at is the heel, and this is something that they've talked about in interviews, in that Gaziano actually focuses on making sure that they do a better job of clicking, which is actually cutting the leather before they put it into the shoe. And you can see here there's no seam at the bottom, and you can see that the Alfred Sargent has a very small seam. Now, I will say the Alfred Sargent seam is really tiny, right? You look at George Cleverly's, you look at Crockett and Jones, it is a full seam all the way top to bottom. You look at Carmina's, and the seam starts up here. TLB Majorca, same thing. So I'm going to say that this is very, very well cut, but just not at the same level as the Gaziano. So anyway, this is Wisconsin Shoe Guy. I thought that would be helpful. Let me know what you think, and let me know if I missed anything. I'm always happy to hear from the viewers and what you guys think. Thanks. Bye.